Good morning, Malacanang Press Corps at sa ating mga bisita. We have PCOO Director Janino Padilla to introduce our guest for today.
Thank you, Yusek Raki. With us today are the members of the PhilSys Policy and Coordinating Council who will brief us on the development of the Philippine Identification System. We have this morning Yusek Lisa Grace Bersales of PSA, Yusek Lilia Guillermo of DBM, Deputy Commissioner Leandro Angelo Aguirre of NPC, Mr. Ricarte Abihuela III of the FA, and Director Teresa Garcia of the ACT. Also with us today from BSP Joy Sufficiencia, from GSIS Beverly Isguera, SSS SVP Joel Laison, and PhilHealth SVP Jovita Aragona. Filipinas Friends, the members of PPCC.
Good morning, ma'am. Can we have Ma'am Bersales, please?
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank PCOO for giving us this opportunity to provide everyone updates on the Philippine Identification System. As mentioned earlier, we are here as members of the PSPCC. This is the National ID Council, or the PhilSys Council, if I may just shorten it. So we shall provide you today updates on what's going on with the Philippine Identification System. In the next slide, I have a presentation. We would like to report to everyone that we were able to craft and finalize the implementing rules and regulations of the Philippine Identification System, and this was approved by the Council on October 5. And this council is chaired by the Secretary of Socioeconomic Planning, Ernesto Empernia, and co-chaired by PSA, myself. And we were able to publish the IRR the following day, October 6, in Daily Tribune. The publication of the IRR for PhilSys was really the stamp for PSA and the Council to already do the implementation of the PhilSys. We would like to report that in the next slide, we are going to do a proof of concept this year, before the year ends. This is to test the system and the processes that we have already crafted for the Philippine Identification System. This proof of concept, we say, is end-to-end, which is we will test registration, validation, all the process in between, up to issuance of the PhilID, the national ID card. And this is PSA to partner with PhilPost. Why PhilPost? Of all the registration centers for the PhilSys, we find that because PhilPost has actually been doing registration for the members of the Social Security System for the Unified Multipurpose Identification System, we would like to partner with PhilPost. They already have about 260 registration centers for UMID, which we can use for PhilSys, and thus the infrastructure is there, the experience is there for the proof of concept for PhilSys. And after we learn from the proof of concept, we will then go to the procurement of the whole system. I would like to say that for this proof of concept, PSA will still do the procurement of the system, software and hardware for the proof of concept. And I would like to announce that we, PSA, shall already call for a bid to do the PhilSys system for the proof of concept next week. So next week, we are going to already invite bids for the proof of concept. After the proof of concept is tested for about 6 months, we will learn from what happened and adjust any, make any adjustments on the technical specifications and other processes for PhilSys. Then next year, we will do the procurement of the full PhilSys system, learning from the proof of concept. So I will show you the timelines later. As I've said earlier, the proof of concept will be end-to-end, from registration to providing the Phil ID. For the proof of concept, we shall be enrolling 1 million unconditional cash transfers beneficiaries. And so we will also partner with the DSWD to identify these 1 million. In the last briefing that I was here, which I participated in before here in Malacanang, I mentioned 3 regions. And we called it pilot before. So we're changing it, not pilot, but proof of concept. We will not limit the registration of 1 million unconditional cash transfer beneficiaries for the proof of concept to just 3 regions, which I mentioned before: CAR, Calabarzon, and NCR. We shall be expanding the coverage of proof of concept to other regions. In the next slide, we would like to report to everyone that the partners and other stakeholders of PSA, which is the implementing agency for what we are going to start this year, are, of course, as I've mentioned already, PhilPost for the agency-to-agency proof of concept, the Department of Foreign Affairs for the registration of overseas Filipinos, dual citizens, and immigrants. So DFA will be the partner of PSA for these other citizens of the Philippines who may not be in the country. Of course, our very supportive partners in the council, the GSIS, SSS, will be part of our work. PhilHealth, of course, and the others would be the local civil registry offices, Pag-ibig, COMELEC for registration. The Department of Justice and the Bureau of Immigration will be our partners for the residents, foreign residents in the Philippines, the resident aliens. So we need DOJ and BI as partners for them. And of course, I would like to emphasize that it is very important to clarify to one and all what this PhilSys is all about. And we are very thankful to PCOO for saying yes to be the partner of PSA for the communication strategy. And actually today is like the beginning of this partnership for dissemination of what PhilSys is all about. In the next slide, we have major timelines which we would like to report to everyone. PSA shall hire IT consultants by next month to further help us with our review of the IT the specifications. Of course, I would like to emphasize that DICT and NPC have been major partners in the crafting of the system that we will procure for the proof of concept, always making sure that we have privacy by design and that we have the latest technology that we shall be using for proof of concept and eventually for the PhilSys itself. Furthermore, we will do in extensive information awareness campaign for PhilSys from November to December. This is with PCOO and DFA. And we will conduct, as I've said earlier, the proof of concept, which we actually will launch before the year ends in December, but will be fast-tracked starting January. The start of the PhilSys procurement, the full system, could be as early as February, but I think we expect it to be April because we want to learn first from the proof of concept. The timelines that I'm going to show you are, of course, indicative timelines. We have always been committing ourselves to listen to everyone, get everyone's advice, be open to everyone who will say PSA, we should be doing this. Why don't you try this? So we have indicative timelines for ourselves, but we shall be very flexible, getting comments from everyone. I think I've mentioned the main timelines already, so I'll go to the next slide, which is now the 5-year plan that we have decided for now for PhilSys. So as I've said already, before the year ends, we shall hire technical consultants to help us more on our review of the specifications. We shall do actually, as I've said also, the extensive information campaign. I would like to also emphasize that we have committed to make sure that the system is privacy by design. So we have actually started bidding for the privacy impact assessment, which shall be done as we do the proof of concept. So PSA has already started to procure privacy impact assessment. Once we have already started the proof of concept, we shall also do vulnerability assessment and penetration testing to further ensure that the system we are using is really ensuring privacy of our citizens secure. Vulnerability assessment and penetration testing will be done next year. But as I've said, the privacy impact assessment will be in parallel with the proof of concept. We shall then, as I've said already, enroll 1 million households under the proof of concept. We will procure the full system after we've learned from the proof of concept, and full-scale registration shall start next year in September, targeting 5 million registrants after the 1 million registered under proof of concept. In 2020, we then start registration of overseas Filipino workers as well as immigrants and dual citizens in coordination with DFA. So we shall also do this pilot already because we've done proof of concept by the time with the assistance of consular offices, foreign posts of DFA. And of course, in 2020, we will already start our target of 25 million per year registration to PhilSys. In 2021, we continue the full-scale registration, 25 million per year. 2022, 25 million per year. And we hope that 2023 will just to tighten all citizens to be registered, including our resident aliens. So this is a long-term work, but the work that we will do this year with proof of concept and next year with the start of the full implementation will help us learn more and more on how to really do our PhilSys as it should be done for our citizens. In the next slide, I would just like to show that PSA also has done its work on having our logo for the Philippine Identification System. So we did this competitive. So we actually announced that we are doing competition for the logo. And I believe this is the launch of the logo already. So we have here in the slide, the Philippine Identification System. What are the features of this logo? You have the fingerprint scan, which represents the biometric system. You have the globe there, which is in gray. We will enhance it further. There's an arrow there that says that this will become better and better. And we have the 3 colors of the Philippines, yellow, red, and blue, to say that this is Philippine. And I don't know if you see the yellow part. That yellow part is baybayin. And that baybayin means ako. So the yellow is baybayin for ako. Ako ito. Ako ay Filipino. So this is the logo for the PhilSys. With this, I would like to thank everyone, and the panel here with me will be very happy to answer questions. Thank you very much. Secretary.
MPC, you have questions? MPC? Alvin?
Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, kailan natin inaasahan talaga yung lahat ay magkakaroon ng ID Doon pagkakasabi natin long-term talagang work ito. No? Pero kailan natin inaasahan na talagang ang bawat Pilipino meron ng ID at magagamit na sa iba't ibang transaksyon?
Salamat po. Sa 2023, yun po yung ating target na by 2023 lahat po tayo na Pilipino at saka resident aliens ay mayroon na pong PhilID. Pero every year po, may mga Pilipino na mabibigyan na po. So, ang target po natin sa 2019 ay yung 1 million na UCT at saka additional na mga 5 to 6 million na mga Pilipino. Pagkatapos po niyan, 25 million per year. At sinasabi po namin na pipila po tayo. So, there will be a very long queue. Pero ang uunahin po natin yung mga kababayan natin na talagang walang kahit anong national, kahit walang anong government-issued ID. At saka yung pagpipili po ng pila ay gagawin po ng PSA sa advice po ng ating council, yung ating Philippine Identification System Policy and Coordination Council.
Na lang po. Doon sa mga unang batch na mabibigyan ng national ID, pwede na ba nilang magamit ito? Halimbawa, yung sa 2021, 25 million, magagamit na po nila ito agad?
Opo. Pag nakuha na po ninyo yung PhilID, yun na po yung one ID na sinasabi natin na pwede nating gamitin na pang-introduce sa sarili natin sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno para masabi na ako ito.
Thank you,
Question,
ma'am.
MPC? Ian Cruz?
Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, pag po by 2023 na-issuehan na po ang lahat ng Pilipino, ibig sabihin mawawala na po ba yung ID ng ibang mga agency like SSS, GSIS? Parang gano'n na po ba magiging system?
Yun po ang vision natin na hindi na natin kailangan gamitin yung iba pang mga ID para ipakilala ang ating sarili. Ang pinaka-purpose po ng PhilID ay pang-introduce, pang-sabi na ako ito at ako talaga ito. So, it will answer who are you and are you who you really say you are. So, ang pinaka-reason niya is to establish identity. Ngayon po, yung ating pong iba-ibang ahensya, may sarili-sarili silang panggamit ng ating PhilID. So, as we use PhilID, I believe that our agencies will more and more advise our citizens as to is there a need for the other cards. But our vision is we won't need those other cards. You just go to SSS, GSIS, PhilHealth, COMELEC, to introduce yourselves using just that PhilID. Of course, I would like to emphasize that these different agencies will have their own separate databases with all the information they have about us. Ang purpose lang nung PhilID ay maibigay yung PSN at kung kailangan i-validate yung biometrics, meron po tayong authentication process. At ang vision po namin, ang kailangan pa rin meron tayo ay yung passport, pangbiyahe abroad, at saka yung mga ID na may license. Yung mga ID na pinapakita na ako ay nakapasa sa license. So like the driver's license and the PRC.
Ma'am, ang marami pong nagiging concern yung syempre sa privacy. Nabanggit nyo nga, paano natin ma-ensure at paano natin masasabi na itong ID na to, pag nawala ay hindi basta-basta masuswipe kung saan-saan kasi marami na pong magaling ngayon sa mga ganitong klase ng mga krimen.
Pwede bang, although I think ang sasagot ito DICT at saka NPC, meron akong alam na sagot pero magaling marinig natin sila. Pwede ko bang ma-request si ano muna? Privacy muna. Si Attorney Dino, Deputy Commissioner of NPC Dino, and then si Ms. Tess of the ICT.
Hello, good morning. For the privacy part, ang ginagawa po ng Privacy Commission together with the PSA and the other members ng PSPCC, so we have been coordinating with them. Yung nabanggit po kanina ni Yusek Lisa, magkakaroon nga po ng privacy impact assessment na gagawin doon sa proof of concept at itong privacy impact assessment na gagawin na to, ito yung mag-feed doon sa finalization ng technical specs. So yung concern po na nabanggit nyo, na intindihan po namin yon. Pero habang ginagawa itong impact assessment na to relating to privacy, mas ma-streamline natin yung proseso na yan at maayos natin yung mga technical na kailangan para mapigilan po yung mga ganyang or ma-assuage natin yung mga ganyang concerns ng mga Pilipino. Pero for the technical specification specifically sa DICT po yung papasok.
Okay. Magandang umaga sa lahat. Yung concern po natin regarding the security ay yung sinabi po kanina ni Yusek Liza that ang gagawin po kasi natin yung sinasabi po natin security by design, in which in all of the steps or in all of the components of the PhilSys project, sisiguraduhin na natin na nandun yung security. Hindi siya separate component, but what we're saying, it's going to be embedded in all of the system infrastructure and that of the application systems that would be in the project. Yun po. So, kaya po we are coordinating with the PSA in making sure that the technical design embedded po yung security and together po yung sa data privacy na sinasabi po ni DepCom.
Ma'am, sa terrorism and sa criminality, malaki ba magiging impact nitong national ID system? Kasi ito po yung ginagamit ng karamihan sa mga ibang bansa. Ano? Kapag wala kang national ID, syempre nandun ka sa ibang klase ng lipunan.
Salamat sa napakahirap na tanong. Ayaw akong tulungan ng mga kasama ko dito. Ang sasabihin ko lang po, ibabalik ko yung pinaka-use ng PhilSys. Ang pinaka-use ng PhilSys, very simple. It is the card that you will use to introduce yourself, and it can for the agency that you are showing your ID to be able to authenticate if you are really who you say you are through some authentication process where some biometrics will be recorded. Now, as to uses, marami po siyang use, including yung tinatanong ninyo. Sa palagay ko po, yung mga uses, malalaman natin kung paano gamitin yung PhilID as we use it. So, I believe the answer to that, yes, there's possibility for that particular use of the PhilSys, but we will learn as we go along on how it can be used for such, but still, fulfill the promise that we gave to our citizens that this is not for profiling, this is to assure security and confidentiality of information that we give to PhilSys. May idadagdag salamat, tutulungan ako ni Attorney Dino, DepCom ni Dino.
So, yung nabanggit nga po ni Yusek Lisa, so we will find out kung paano siya magagamit as we use it, pero pagdating po sa improper use nung PhilSys, nakasulat naman po sa batas yung disclosure ng information sa loob ng PhilSys will only happen upon two conditions. The first, kung pumayag yung data subject mismo, na i-disclose yun after sabihin sa kanya kung ano yung purpose ng pag-disclose. At pangalawa, pag may order po galing sa competent court or competent authority na nagpauutos ng pag-disclose na yun. At even if mangyari po yun, kailangan i-notify yung data subject, if I'm not mistaken, within 72 hours after that initial order by the competent authority. So, yung proper use po, malalaman natin habang ginagamit natin yan, pero yung protections against improper use nakasulat na po sa batas mismo at napalakas pa yun sa IRR.
Ma'am, last na, may design na ba yung ating ID?
Meron na po. Actually, if I may say this, yung design ng ating PhilSys, matagal na pong pinag-uusapan ng Technical Working Group on National ID even before the President signed it by law. So I would like to assure those who thought or who are thinking that this is a rush design. If I may assure everyone, this design that we are going to release for our bid has been discussed thoroughly by our Technical Working Group on National ID, our IT experts of the agencies that are being represented in the council. So that's an assurance. And it has been done, privacy by design, end-to-end. But we want to make sure that we did it really well. That's why we are going to do the proof of concept. And then we are going to do privacy impact assessment, and we're going to do vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Parang triple, sa isip ko, triple, anong tamo doon? Yung basta, yung gusto mong, you are going to cover all bases. So even if we did this for so many workshops already, we still are listening to those who say, be careful, be careful, be careful. So we're doing all of this, safeguards that we are indeed designing our PhilSys really appropriately.
Okay, mag-last question na tayo.
And
sorry, I'm sorry.
Yusek Raki, I would like to also ask Yusek Lil.
I just would like
To say
to add that, good morning everyone. Meron ba?
Yes.
Okay. I just like to add that para malaman ninyo na matagal nang pinaplano ito is in 2018, nabigyan na po ng budget ang national ID. So all preparations, inumpisahan na even before the law came out. So talagang pinag-isipan ito, and yung UMID, we are not starting from scratch, no? There was UMID by GSIS and SSS. So talagang, and then there is the clamor from Congress na yung ating mga indigents unahin na magkaroon ng ID. So that really triggered na bigyan na ng budget yan kasi yung ating mga indigents wala silang ID mapakita sa bangko. Gusto na yung mga unbanked, no, gusto na sana natin na idagay sila sa financial natin para malaman na hindi sila indigents all throughout their life, no. Tutulungan natin. Kaya yun ang priority ngayon ng PhilSys ID.
Okay, thank you, Yusek Lilia Guillermo ng DBM. Last question na tayo. Julie?
Medyo marami po. Una po, so you said na we will begin the enrollment of UCT beneficiaries by next year. So by when, I may have missed it in the timeline, but by when do we expect the first rollout of the national ID? Like by what month next year po kaya?
Although we call it proof of concept, the 1 million registration of unconditional cash transfers will be end-to-end. So actually, they are the first registrants into the Philippine Identification System, the 1 million unconditional cash transfers. Then, in 2019, we will start for all other citizens before the year ends. So we will by September maybe, yeah. September, we start September for the first 6 million after the 1 million UCT.
Pero yung 1 million, may ID na rin sila makukuha?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
And then another question. For example, there's may circumstance in which may isang citizen who can't get a national ID or hindi pa nakakuha. Paano magiging proseso, like for example sa banks or sa government agencies? Can he or she still use yung mga, say, other IDs like UMID, driver's license, or will the government agency or the financial institution insist on seeing the national ID muna?
Our promise is that no citizen will be deprived of services of government just because he or she doesn't have the PhilID. So yes, citizens will continue to transact using their other ID cards. The problem is if the citizen doesn't have the PhilID, if they want to open a bank account, they still need to have those two government-issued IDs.
But these will be treated as secondary IDs na, correct?
I don't want to call them secondary IDs.
Or-
they are still IDs for you to
Okay.
use if you still don't have the PhilID.
Okay.
So if you don't have PhilID, you still can transact with government. Status
Okay.
quo.
Okay.
Using the usual
Okay.
cards.
I just like to follow up on what on Iya's line of questioning kanina regarding terrorism and criminality. Ibabalik ko lang yung question na, like, what if, for example, may, say, criminal personality or na hindi makakuha ng national ID. Tapos say, bawa, hinuli siya ng police, inapprehend siya. Will the fact na wala siyang national ID will be a cause for, say, to question him or arrest him under the law, ganon? Or kumbaga magiging offense ba na wala kang national ID?
No, there's no, in the law, walang nakasabi na just because wala kang national ID ay may penalty. So wala actually penalty kung hindi ka magpa-register. But we strongly believe that everyone will want to have a PhilID because this will be ease of transaction, ease of service. Now, in the law, it does. Okay, when you register a national ID, we are not going to ask you to show NBI clearance. We are not, so even if you have a record with the police or elsewhere, you can enroll in PhilSys because the only document you need is your birth certificate in the security paper of PSA and then your biometrics to be captured. I would like to say that in the IRR, we have included their other documents that can serve in lieu of the security paper birth certificate for our citizens who don't have birth certificates or lost them, or those who have errors in their birth certificate. So we accept other government-issued IDs, and we also, in the IRR, have instituted the introducer mode in case there is really no birth certificate nor government-issued ID for the citizen. The PSA website has the law as published and the IRR as published. Please just download from the website if you don't have a copy.
Ma'am, last na lang. Diba, given that the technological landscape is changing almost every day, and you said that of course you will have security measures in place to ensure that the people's data is kept private. In line with that, will the national ID have, say, like a certain validity period for you to, say, change the security measures applied to the system and to the ID in order to prevent na, kumbaga, ma-outdate at malaos at ma-hack kayo?
I'll give initial answer and then I'll ask my colleagues here to help me. As I've said earlier, we're going to do vulnerability assessment penetration testing. We'll do this quarterly, and the privacy impact assessment is to be done every year. So through these evaluation measures, we will know if there is a need to do some changes to the IT specification. So that's my initial answer. May I request my colleagues here to also give their answers? Yusek Lil, you want to say more?
No.
Or Ms. Tess?
Just like our credit cards or the isn't it when they told us to change your credit cards with EMV maybe chips, maybe in the long run, as mentioned by Yusek Lisa, if we find out that in the assessments that we do it's lacking security because of technological advancements, then we will have to do so.
Okay. Normally in technical design, you have to review that regularly. So especially if there would be advancement in the technology, especially also in terms of the application systems. So the review of the project would have to be done on a regular basis. And even data cleansing would have to be done on a regular basis as well. And this would have to be part of the terms of reference or the technical design that would have to be included in the contract. So I think probably DEPCOM might want to add something in terms of the privacy.
So napag-usapan na po yung sa security kanina, pero yung nabanggit po ni Yusek Lisa regarding the regular conduct of the privacy impact assessment, this will also help ensure the security and safety of that system, because when you conduct a privacy impact assessment, you take a look at all the processes and how it impacts different systems that it touches. So makikita po natin during the regular conduct of that kung nagbabago ba yung procedure as originally designed and how it is being implemented on the ground. So makikita ho natin ano yung mga potential gaps that emerge so that we can come up with remediation measures, whether it's a procedural remediation measure, a policy remediation measure, or a technical remediation measure that needs to be done to ensure the security and the continued privacy, data privacy of the Filipino citizens and other.
Okay. FPC, okay na? Okay, maraming salamat po.
Yusek Raki, I would just like to say this. Ang kagandahan dito sa Philippine Identification System, hindi lang po PSA, hindi lang DICT, hindi lang po kaming, ilan tayo dito? Limang agency ang nakikita ninyo na nag-iisip sa tamang paggawa ng ating Philippine Identification System. Marami po kaming tulong-tulong. So nasabi po kanina, SSS, GSIS, PhilHealth, of course BSP, Financial Inclusion, now PCOO, and of course DFA for our kababayans na out of the country. So because of that, I am very optimistic that we will do this really well. Of course, if I may say this, if Yusek Lil doesn't mind, I would always brag that the Philippine Identification System will be really truly Filipino because actually the funding will come from DBM. So parang maganda siyang, for me, na example of how we should do our national ID system, Filipinos working together, and the government itself funding this, not getting from others. And with your kind indulgence, Yusek Raki, I would like to also request Sir Butch of DFA to say something about how the Philippine Identification System will be done for our other kababayans, because I've just come from a meeting with the consular office in Geneva, and our Filipino community there are eager about the Philippine Identification System. So is it okay?
Yes,
I
sir.
will ask
Yeah.
Sir
Yeah,
Butch.
Yes, hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Yusek Lisa. The composition of our citizens overseas is quite unique and different from what we have here because they basically fall into three major groups. One is, of course, our overseas Filipino workers who will eventually return to the Philippines after the end of their contract. The second group is, of course, the immigrants, Filipinos who are immigrants overseas and eventually will become citizens of their host countries. And the third group are our dual citizens. They are citizens of their host country and of the Philippines as well. And each particular group requires a different set of approach with regards to the Philippine identification system. But as Yusek Bersales correctly said, one major advantage is that our citizens who are residents overseas are already familiar with the concept of a national ID system because a lot of the countries where they reside in already have a national ID of sorts. So sa tingin ko naman, sa tingin namin, hindi ganun magiging kahirap para kumbinsin sila para mag-enroll sa PhilSys. And we are looking forward to cooperating and working with the PSA to have all of our citizens overseas registered.
Pero ang reception po nila, positive po.
Very positive.
Yes.
Okay, maraming salamat, Director Abuela. And maraming salamat po sa ating mga bisita. Thank you, Malacanang Press Corps. Back to our main studios sa People's Television Network. Maraming salamat po.